Wondered what would happen if World War II ended early? Well, now's your chance to see it. And well, just fixing the coloring up of Canada. And that's not that important though. And now to the European front. And we'll start this in 1939, right at the beginning of the war. And well, hello, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll see what will happen if World War II ended early. And well, we have to start the same. And yeah, as they cross the border in multiple directions. Don't even know if this is accurate of where their forces were. But they quickly advance in. As on the other front, we see the Soviet forces moving. And while they move forces here and quickly meet up. Doesn't matter if this is completely accurate, because it's not. And we're all aware of that. And yes, that front is over, as we can tell. But during this, the Sarlin, the attack in Sarlin by France. Well, let's go look at that. Instead of them halting and retreating, they go in a bit further, but may not necessarily retreat. But they don't stay, necessarily. As long as they probably should. As they advance in. They take the Saarland over and then continue a bit. But instead of withdrawing from this offensive, they hold it, moving more forces in. And this may seem not too important. Well, they're having to move forces. So that leads to that open. And Russia takes advantage of it to go annex, 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 annex. And 1 second. Europe. But I don't know about Romania getting that for peacefully. But let's do one thing, because, well, it's still the early part of the war. And don't forget about Finland. Still just as humiliating. With them advancing here. And over here. And they also advance into here. With them advancing to about there. And then they end up with a counter-offensive. Pushing them back to the border over here. And well, nobody's defending this. And well, let's go to the other front, where France is doing stuff. That's too big of a movement. And they move forwards a bit. With them probably having to go there earlier. And then they finally agreed to a peace treaty as the Winter War went. I think it was going to be a bit different, because they stood back better. Likely they would have got aid if the other front wasn't too focused on another thing happening. But not a lot. Let's say this is a peace treaty. Yes, really harsh. They should have just accepted the ultimatum. Or should have they? Who knows? With Russia not doing much now. And Eastern Europe probably doesn't start aligning with them in the Balkans. And then, with everybody expecting this, instead of them going up into Norway and, well, Denmark, they decide to advance across the Netherlands. And while they're probably, with their advance being really fast, well, at first, But instead of allowing them to take it fully over, they eventually take them over, but France manages to occupy some areas along with Britain. And well, this is what the front looks like, with Germany desperately needing Italy. So this is where Italy joins, thinking they're a superpower, which they will never be. And well, let's see what happens before they can start an advance in North Africa. They're basically getting attacked because France is still around. And them advancing to about here on this front and about to here. And this area quickly falls under control, as I end up having to withdraw from here as that front fails. Let's look at this front. With them in a stronger position, they start advancing in really quick, with the goal of liberating Ethiopia. And while they advance and advance as they come in from the north, and at this point, with nothing left, this area and this area falling, with only in the north they're holding on. And then this area falls. But let's see what was happening in Europe, with them focusing not on that front, but on a different front. That's why it fell so fast. And that's probably 1940, maybe. And while Italy launches an offensive, it doesn't get very far due to the terrain. And also, a landing takes place over here. And it's a success, as it's earlier in the war. With French and British forces managing to push them back in Belgium and French forces in France, as they have to defend their lands. As in the east, they start to see an opportunity in attacking Germany, but they wait on. And while, yeah, this does not look great. Italy is going to be forced to capitulation, as they take another island from them, and they're much weaker in today's video. With them landing in Albania and taking this over, occupying it to re-liberate it. With Rome falling, and quickly they advance here to prevent too much forces from entering. With Italy surrendering, but quickly that area becomes an occupation. And well, this did not achieve much. And they even launched an advance here, although not really successful. And well, with on the other front, without warning, just so we don't mix it up with other colors, without warning, an invasion of Kaliningrad happens. And this continues as an offensive into Poland, with them seeking to get Poland, since it never could, in the Soviet-Polish War. Revenge for that. And well, Hungary gets to have more lands. within this front by late 1941. They're already being pushed back, with this showing a lot of weakness. And they advance in from the south. And in the Polish front, or the East front, are still advancing, much slower. And well, they manage to get to here, but a counteroffensive in occupied Poland, with them then launching an offensive. And well, it ends up with a front like this as they cross, although they go at a much slower pace. And I'd say the Pacific War is still happening, but it's probably America fighting it instead. Just them. As they manage to take the city of Hamburg, and they move in, advancing through this northern area, with the forces moving in here into where Czechia would be, knowing they'll have victory at this point, most likely, or maybe not. And they move up to capture Vienna from the south, with it being just Britain and France, with them getting pushed back in the north. And it's probably the beginning of 1942. And in late November 1942, an advance manages to get to Berlin. And this leads to an encirclement that quickly falls in the capture of Berlin in November 1942. Or March 1943. As they advance in. And both forces advance, with them occupying a lot in the north. But Munich is captured by them. Right? We get Munich captured by them. And Prague ends up captured by Soviet forces, as a front ends up like this. With blue control being extended everywhere. And well, green control not too far. But since this war did end early, we don't have much to go off for the peace. But there'll be a peace treaty. Let's go into the peace treaty and see a lot of similar things. With what we can see is a massive East Germany, basically. Yes, but they annexed Kaliningrad and most of Poland and made a small Polish state there. And they turned Czechoslovakia into a puppet state. With, on the other side, you can see Italy's occupied for the next 5 years. Yes, that's what they decide. These two areas, that's occupied by Britain and France. Yes, as you can see, similar to the peace treaty, but not quite. There's a bit of land from Italy was annexed here, and a bit there, and a bit up into Rhineland, with the Rhineland being a joint occupation zone / international zone. And then this is British and French. But as you can see, France annexed a lot more than just Ireland into most of the Rhineland. And then we can see in Ethiopia, Ethiopia is freed, but they occupy Somalia and Eritrea, and plan to give one independence and the other to Italy once it's unoccupied. But these are both 10-year occupations, and this is basically 15 years. So that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye.